Well, well, well. Friday morning is here. We are a few months removed from a certain somebody that works for a certain company that supports a certain team going on a rant saying Bama is burning because Bama flipped a quarterback from SMU, who, by the way, is now the number 2 quarterback in the nation, consensus 5-star. Well, wouldn't you know it? That same individual who works for that same company, who supports that same team, they just had to watch as their 5-star quarterback flipped away from them, leaving them high and dry with no quarterback with 2 weeks remaining until early signing day. Justice. Oh, she's sweet, Coach Sean. Oh, is she sweet. Oh, is it sweet. How you doing today, Coach? Because the taste of justice is in the air and it's sweet.
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. Blessed, highly favored. Karma, definitely karma. I apologize for not being at home to the fans, man. Had to come make a little money. Um, Definitely karma, man. Definitely karma. That's why you should really, really, really be careful of what you say. Sometimes your feelings about a team can get you in trouble later on. That's why you have to really know what you're talking about and talk about what you know. And you're definitely seeing an example of talking out your ass, and it's come back to haunt you.
You know, I don't know if y'all have noticed, there's only one person who I reference. There were a lot of people. Ryan Clark, for instance. He was talking about how he just didn't think Alabama was going to be anywhere near where they are right now. You want to know why I don't talk about them? Because that's an opinion that even if we all disagree with, it's okay to hold that. If you looked at Nick Saban leaving, you looked at Kalen DeBoer, and you said, "Hey, he's been a great coach. I just don't think it's going to work in the SEC. I don't think Bama is going to be contending for SEC championships. I think it's going to not go well." I would have disagreed with you. We would have had a debate, but it's okay to hold that opinion. I have no ill will towards anybody who held that opinion. If you're wondering why it's one person in particular, because that one person in particular tried to prove the point that Alabama was going to fall off a cliff because they were not getting talented football players. Basically, throwing a 16, 17-year-old kid under the bus and saying, "Oh, he's a 3-star, so they're burning." And then he tried to say, that I wasn't throwing shots at the kid, but you were. You were. And what made me even more angry about the situation is the little troglodytes in the room with him that handed him the piece of paper. They all work for ESPN. He was the number 1 dual threat quarterback on ESPN, rated number 100 in the nation, 4-star. So they just outright lied about a kid in order to say Bama's not getting talented players, they're burning. That's why this keeps coming back up. You don't hear me talk about anybody else that doubted Alabama. Nobody else. Because that's a fine position to hold. That's 100% a fine position to hold. That's an opinion. People like Ryan Clark, I'll keep giving this example. Even though he was wrong, even though, we disagree with the opinion, he brought analysis to it. Now, even if the analysis is 100% wrong, Coach Sean, you've been doing this long enough. I've been doing this long enough. That's going to happen, right? Like we could give a sound argument as to, oh, this team isn't going to be very good. And then boom, next thing you know, that team is very good. And you're like, everything I said, every argument I made logically made sense. Now, I'm not saying every argument Ryan Clark made logically made sense. But I'm saying that's why I don't hold anything against people that are just giving opinions, making arguments. That's all well and good. But there's a reason why one person in particular has continued to get my rage. Because you lied on a kid and threw shots at a kid to throw shots at a university. And Coach Sean, I look at it like this right here, and then I want to hear your take. I have the position I'm in, right, is because of two things. One, because of the viewers, because of everybody in chat, right? And two, because I will sit and talk about these kids. So that's why whenever you hear me make a recruiting video, I have people all the time say, oh, well, you're just sunshine pumping these kids. Yeah, I'm going to tell you what they can do. Like Bill Belichick said once he was talking about people drafting, he said, everybody's worried about what they can't do. Tell me what they can do, and then we'll go from there. I'm going to tell you what these kids can do, what these kids can do very well. I'm not going to tell you their deficiencies because I built a business basically talking about college football, which inevitably means I'm talking about these kids. I'm not going to throw dirt on them. I'm going to speak positively about them because it would be wrong for me to do anything else. I just want to get your thoughts before we move forward. Oh, you're muted, coach.
Oh, my fault. My fault. I was trying to do that background noise. I agree, especially when you're talking about the arena of recruiting. When you're talking about the arena of recruiting, obviously you want to highlight the kid's strengths. Obviously, you want to talk about what the kid can do. You want to sell the value of the kid to the universities, and how can he bring value to a university? Um, I think when you're talking about recruiting, what a kid can't do is almost irrelevant until he gets on campus, right? Well, this kid can't play zone. Well, this kid can't play man. Well, if you're recruiting him, it's your job to take this piece of clay and highlight the finer points of what he can do and mold him from the time he's a freshman to the time he's a junior or senior, and make this kid um, what he can be. That's why development is such an important thing at the college level. So yeah, you're 100% correct, Ty. You're 100% correct. I think the best recruiting agencies and the best recruiting analysts are people that highlight what the kid can do well and are accurate in their analysis.
Yeah, if anybody's ever wondering why I've always been a little bit petty towards that situation, that's why. I feel like if you are in the business, you don't throw dirt on kids.
Yeah, facts.
If you want to
Uh,
say Bama's not going to do well, talk about how, oh, well, the SEC is a different landscape, right? The Pac was great last year, no doubt about it, but the SEC is a different beast. You got to
yeah,
prepare for this, that, and the other. Look at the recruiting rankings, right? All these guys go into the SEC. You're playing more talented teams on a week in, week out basis than you see all. Even if I disagree, I would sit there and say your arguments are sound and you're not throwing dirt on a kid.
yeah,
That's why I haven't let it go, to be honest. And that's why I keep sending jabs back, because I was just like, yo, you get paid to do this very well. I'm still trying to get into your position. But I
yeah,
just don't be working for these major corporations making money talking about these kids and talk bad about them. Build
yeah,
them up. That's been my whole thing. Build them up. And I'm nobody, right? You person who we are speaking about, you are somebody. So if I'm trying to build them up, how in the world is the somebody in the situation trying to tear them down? Like, that just does not compute to me. And even more so, coach, I didn't play college football. You have more legs to stand on whenever you're talking about what these kids can and can't do because you played the game. Then you coached the game. I'm just a really big fan of the game who's trying to learn as I have no if I can't do it, I'm certainly not going to be out there saying, "Oh, this kid can't do this and this." Of course,
yeah.
we'll talk about the ebbs and flow of football, but I'm not going to
Of course.
sit here and try and like, "Oh, this kid, there's no way he can ever do this. He won't be successful." That's not my
Yeah.
position. That's not my place.
You know what's so crazy about it, Ty? What I find crazy is these guys hate. I use the word hate. I'm not sure what word it is. Disdain, hate, jealousy, whatever word you want to use is so powerful toward the University of Alabama. that they will stoop those lines. They will stoop that low and just to needle Alabama. Um, and I would be willing to bet that that young man we're speaking on has never met, Keelan. I would be willing to bet he's never met K. Dot in his life. So you are 100% correct, man. These grown-ups and these adults with these jobs at these important entities will say things for clicks and views and just to needle a fan base, not even taking into consideration that you're still talking about somebody's child. These are not grown men. I don't care what NIL they're getting. Some of these kids are not even old enough to go to the liquor store and buy a beverage, right? So you're still talking about somebody's kid, man. And I get it that you don't like Alabama. I get it. You have disdain toward the University of Alabama because they put belt B2A to you for several years now, including this one. But I think that's just very unprofessional. It's very unprofessional. It's very, very, very forthcoming of the kind of person you are. And what I found out is a lot of these guys that you see that are over the top like that. A lot of them, the football players on the team don't even have a clue who they are for real. Like they don't even know who you are. So really, you have no reason to go so hard on these individual kids just because it's at your rival's university or whatever. Why not keep it in the context of football? Why not talk about what you could have done better to beat Alabama? What you could have done in any year that we beat you better? Why not speak on the years you beat us? Why not speak on your recruiting class and what you can do and how you can be better? But he's so focused on needling the Alabama fan base that they will take shots like that. And as we both see, eventually make themselves look utterly ridiculous.
And just to put a cap on the conversation, if you are an LSU fan who is come into this video right now, understand I do feel for you. And I'm going to tell you why. Because as much as I've always been of the mindset that these kids should and deserve to get paid, the landscape is totally wild right now. Y'all have heard the numbers. I'm not here to go into the specifics. But this is why I've been so adamant. And I don't even know if I'm correct. I don't even know if this will fix it. But I'm too dumb to know if this will fix anything, Coach Sean, but just smart enough to realize what's going on right now isn't sustainable. But this is why I've been saying, like,
Right.
oh, we need revenue sharing. Because at the point where we have
Yeah.
revenue sharing, then the NCAA could actually kind of legislate NIL, because then they wouldn't have to worry about the courts telling them, oh, you can't pass, like you're illegal and antitrust. Then they could be like, no, NIL has to come from these areas right here. And the pay for play, that can't happen because you already are getting revenue sharing. So you already are getting a salary, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's why I think revenue sharing is going to be so key, because the reason right now, I saw an LSU fan posting on Twitter and they were like, NCAA, they just did this right in front of everyone's faces and you have nothing to say. They can't say anything because the
Right.
second they say something, they're going to end up in court. And then it's just like the court's going to say the same thing they've told them the last 3 times. There's a reason why every time here recently a judge has put in a temporary injunction or anything against the NCAA, they bow out of the fight.
Yeah.
Like they just bow out because they know, oh, it's easier for us to run away from the fight than to fight and then expose to the world we don't know how to throw a jab, because then the world is going to hit us with something ferocious, right? Like that's kind of where they are. So I actually feel for LSU fans. We're 2 weeks away from signing day and your number 1 player in the nation. And remember, Coach Sean, you and I have been saying for, since March that we thought the 2 best quarterbacks, this is a great quarterback class. Hassan Longstreet, Juju Lewis, Tavian St. Clair, All guys, all dudes, all going to be great players. But you and I have been saying since like March that our top two, Bryce Underwood and Key Russ, like
Right,
I,
that's
I
right.
I've just thought those two were by far and about the best quarterbacks in this class. And this is a great quarterback class, like maybe better than the Arch Nico Jackson Arnold class. This one might be better. You have 2 weeks to go before National Signing Day, and your guy's gone. I do feel for the average LSU fan, but that certain somebody I can't say I feel much sympathy for. Coach Jay, how are you this morning?
Oh, I am doing all right for the most part, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just trying to make my brew of coffee. I don't know what's going on with my coffee machine, but I'm trying to make my brew of coffee. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I got my special cigar here and we're smoking on that LSU pack tonight.
Oh, you already know I'm going to the cigar lounge right after Bleacher Report is done. And I actually think they have those LSU cigars there. I don't know if y'all saw LSU partnered with, I believe, AJ Fernandez. Why the hell hasn't Alabama done that? That's a question I have. Alabama, partner with Placencia, partner with Davidoff, one of those two, maybe put their own. Get your cigars made. LSU has cigars. I think Tennessee's making cigars. Get your cigars made.
You know, LSU has their own cologne made. They have a partnership with Dior Sauvage.
Do they really?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it expired, but they had a contract in 21. I don't know if it expired.
With Dior?
Oh yeah, for the Sauvage line.
That's kind of sick. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
I don't know if it expired, man, but I don't know. It might have not been the school. It might have been a player that was from LSU that I forget. It's one of the two. It's either that or the player that was signed by Dior. And I remember that story. It was just Savages.
Even
Jared asks if it smells like corn dogs.
Yeah, it comes pretty close to it, man. Because I don't know. Like I threw out my I didn't throw it out. I sold it. Sold my Dior Sauvage elixir. I sold it for like $150.
That's not a bad cologne. That's not a bad one, but you know.
Yeah.
Are you saying that's why they're smelling themselves?
Well, maybe that nasty Baton Rouge scent.
So, Jay, what are you thinking, right? Because Coach Sean and I, we've been talking about it for 17 minutes now, about what happened yesterday with LSU. And as you were coming in, I was just saying to the average LSU fan, I actually do feel for you because as much as, I mean, you and I have been saying players needed to get paid, and Coach Sean, you have as well. But the reason why I say Jance and I, it's just because Jance and I have been streaming together since March 2021. Yeah. We've been screaming that players need to get paid. Players need to get paid, right? Like this NCAA monster makes so much money and they do nothing with it. But I think we can all agree that NIL in its current form, because the NCAA can't legislate anything, is just not necessarily sustainable or conducive to what people had hoped it would be. So I feel for the average LSU fan. 2 weeks to go before signing day. Your number one player in your class is gone. And this might not be the end of the bleeding for LSU. So, Jance, talk to me about it. Because as much as I feel for the average LSU fan, there's a certain somebody that this is just sweet justice for.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, I do feel bad for the LSU fans that are getting bullied by Bama fans. You know, again, you know, you're hearing it's burning down, and they're like, man, Matt Moscona, you son of a, you know, that's what you're hearing. That's what you got to hear. And unfortunately, you got to deal with it because he still won't take the medicine. He still won't take the medicine. I don't think he's ever going to take the medicine. So you're going to hear it until he apologizes, which he won't do. So LSU fans, it is what it is. But I apologize in advance for your health and safety. And for of course for your mental health, and hope everything was going to be all right, because this is only going to get worse. You lost Derek Motos, who again every LSU fan is saying that he was going to leave anyway. They're coming after your offensive lineman. Obviously, your quarterback of the future. Something that, by the way, a lot of people kept saying if Brian Kelly can't hold on to Bryce Underwood, he was going to get fired. So we're going to see what happens with Brian Kelly after this thing is over. Because Bryce, now your quarterback that you held on to all those times he's gone for that specific occasion. But no, Ty, you're right about. I mean, NIL, it's not being used to what it was supposed to be used for, which is its name, image, and likeness. It's supposed to help players like the Johnny Manziels. It's supposed to help players like the Caleb Williams, the Bryce Youngs, guys that's been in the college, guys that's been able to do their job, and that's what it's supposed to be kind of used for. It's supposed to be used for players, by these local companies, by these major businesses, to give them change in their pocket, to give them much of an opportunity, and to capitalize off of their name, image, and likeness. But unfortunately now, I mean, it's being used to, Michigan, and again, I would like to hear for some Michigan fans, because I don't know. Some people are saying that Bryce Underwood actually did take those visits. He went to a couple of Michigan games. Some people are saying that he didn't even visit Michigan since last year during their championship run. He's 30 minutes away from Ann Arbor, so I think it's a big possibility that he did take those visits, and was able to establish a relationship with that coaching staff that was there this year before he was able to make the decision to go to Michigan. But if he did not take a single visit, if he didn't visit Michigan once and say, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and take the money, then yeah, I mean that's NIL. I mean, or that's NIL being used to an intention that it's not supposed to use. And I definitely think that the NCAA needs to do something about this. Again, listen, Michigan's not the only school that's doing it. They're capitalizing it until there's a written rule written in place to a point where they can't use it for that sort of intention. But hey, I mean, like I said, if you're a recruit for this class or for next year's class, take advantage of it now. I'm sorry. Like, I know a lot of people, a lot of people are going to hate on Bryce Underwood for taking the money. Listen, you're 17, 18 years of age. You're coming out of high school and you're getting paid $12 million to go to college. Sign me up. I'm sorry. Bama fans, listen, I love this school to death, but if someone offers me $12 million to go to college and play for that university, I'm doing it. I'm sorry. Yeah. That's a life, that's a life-changing money for a majority of us out there, that can feed our families, that can, pretty much, you can do a lot of stuff with that, with that money. So I'm not blaming Bryce. Obviously I think we may even fall victim to it because, Haywood, Michigan's trying to flip Haywood. And so we'll see what happens there. Michigan, people underestimate Michigan, man. Like, a couple years ago, man, they decided to say, you know what? We're not going to do what every other school has been doing. We're going to become a recruiting giant. They started this a couple years ago, and they have not looked back. Shout to Dave Portnoy, who started the movement with these boosters, had the conversation with these billionaires, these booster corps, told these dudes, like, listen, if we want to catch up, we got to start spending the money that we actually have. Why we're not using the money that we act like we don't have the money to pay these recruits. We have more money than anybody if we want to use it. A&M, it's just not the oil money for A&M in Texas. We actually have more money than them. Let's use it. And so Dave Portnoy, I got to give you a lot of credit. I'm not the biggest fan of Dave Portnoy, but got to give him a lot of credit for having that meeting, getting a lot of these boosters involved. And, this is where they are right now. They're going to become a recruiting giant. Don't be surprised if there's a change in leadership, or with Notre Dame. Notre Dame has a lot of money that they don't, they spend it, but they don't. If they want to be Texas A&M, they can do it. They want to be a part of that conversation. They absolutely could if they want to. They're just not doing it because of moral practices. But we saw this with USC a couple years ago when they spent a boatload of money. We've been seeing this with Ohio State over, since this thing started, and how much money and how much, they spent almost $100 million on these rosters. Ohio State has been a monster when it comes to keeping the roster intact and now also going out there and getting the roster. You saw the $20 million that they were able to spend this year for that roster. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised without the lease. Michigan's actually doing something that they honestly should have been doing this for decades, years, but they didn't do it for morals. I can guarantee you the gloves are going to be off until this thing is going to be set. Notre Dame's going to do it. Don't be surprised if other mega schools that have this type of money, if they start to do it, especially a lot of the teams up north. Michigan State has a lot of money. They haven't done it for morals. Watch how they might do it in the past to compete. I'm telling you, you're going to start seeing these big time programs. They're going to take the kiddie goes off. They touch. They're going to start getting that addiction, and they're going to want to spend that money. So don't be surprised. Michigan is only the first of these programs to do it. Don't be surprised in the future when you see these mega programs, guys programs that weren't recruiting giants in the past, they start to become recruiting giants.
Yeah,
I applaud Michigan just for not hiding it. I mean, these guys didn't hide anything.
Nope.
I mean, they came on out with it. It wasn't underhanded. They hell, if you're gonna do it, okay. They getting ready for revenue sharing. These guys came out with it. They made their offer, I guess we can call it. You know what I'm saying? And they rolled with it. They didn't give a damn about the media. They didn't care who covered it. This is what we're offering. Take it or leave it. What's up? I appreciate that. I appreciate the upfrontness.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think you can be upfront about it right now, even though it's technically illegal.
Yeah.
Because the NCAA can't do anything. They have no grounds. The court absolutely took all powers away from the NCAA to be able to legislate things like this. And it's been a wild ride since. Was Michigan they had their pinky finger slapped, Jeremy. Jeremy asked, was Michigan ever punished for stealing signals? They had a little.
Ty, you know what's funny?
Know what I mean?
You know what's funny that Connor Stallions actually coached Bryce Underwood this year?
I know. Isn't that funny? Hilarious?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find that ironic that the only job he was able to find after he got fired was that school where the number one player in the country was able to go to. I find that kind of funny.
Well, they're already going after Bama recruits, JTL. They might flip Ty Haywood. It is what it is. Right? It is what it is if they do.
They got a lot more money, man. They don't got oil money, man, but what they got is they got that British UK Commonwealth money. That's what they got. They got that A-Rap money. You ever heard that song?
Don't they have like a booster or something that's worth $230 billion or something like that?
Oh yeah, they got billionaires. They got a lot of billionaires in the UK. They got a lot of billionaires they got a lot of billionaires right now. That's they're in Saudi Arabia. They're in Israel and all these other countries where they're producing. It's not just Texas and A&M. It's not just them. Michigan's got the bees. They got those billionaires. And again, Dave Portnoy he was rounding them up. He was rounding him up. He was the first person that said, you know what, we got to get a quarterback. We got to do it. And he says, I'm gonna do whatever it takes. I'm gonna get these boosters riled up, and we're gonna get this quarterback. He got it. He did it. And so I shout to him. Shout to him.
So Jeffrey asks, do you feel, because we did want to talk about some recruiting as well. I think Michael Carroll's committed, Jeffrey. The fact that he didn't flip on the visit, I think, is great for Alabama. Good on Colorado and Coach Prime and all them for swinging at the fences by all means, right? They got Juju Lewis. They're going to probably get some guys here in the next few weeks that are going to shock some people, but I don't think that Carroll is one of them. He tweeted out something pro Alabama yesterday. From my understanding, he plans to be at the Iron Bowl. If he was flipping, he would have flipped on that visit. But the fact that he's had such a great relationship with the Bama staff and he hasn't visited anywhere except Colorado, and it's so late, I think we are good with Carroll. Now, Ty Haywood's a different one. I have no information on the Ty Haywood situation other than Michigan is trying their hardest to flip him. So no, Jeffrey, we hadn't gotten into it. And that's another thing, Jeffrey. If you ever come in here, never apologize for asking a question. Even if we've already talked about it, you all have lives, right? I don't have a life. These two guys right here with me, they even have lives, but I don't have one. So if you miss a segment, never apologize for asking about it, because I'll definitely go back and talk about it for you, right? Like, I am so unbelievably thankful that you are giving me your time. That never, like, always ask a question. And if I don't see it the first time, I've always said, like, you can ask multiple times. It's not going to annoy me. Sometimes I'm just caught in the flow of conversation or looking at things, and I might miss a question, but always ask, man. No apologies necessary. I think Ty Haywood's one to watch. I'd love to have him in this class. I think anybody that's watched my content, you know how high I am on Ty Haywood. I think his ceiling is just dumb. I think it's so good. Really talented player right here in Denton. I get to watch him play all the time, and he is an exceptional player. But Michigan's going to be swinging for the fences. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. Luckily for Alabama, Jackson Lloyd was just elevated to 5-star status. That guy's freaky, like a frog with a mustache. Michael Carroll, I think that he is going to be in the class. We already talked about that. So luckily you have a great offensive line class, but guys, Bama has to have a great offensive line class in this cycle, because if y'all seen Georgia's defensive line class, every time Coach I tags me in a tweet, I shudder, because he's tagging me like, oh, we just got this guy. And I'm sitting there like, yeah, Bama's very lucky that they have an elite offensive line class, like a ridiculous offensive line class. JTL says, as a non-Bama fan, I'm hoping that Ty stays with Bama, take the $1 million and get the $100 million in 6 years. And I wanted to kind of discuss this comment up here, because I don't disagree with you at all, JTL. Why would you take $10 million, but you could get $200 million in 6 years? So I know the answer to this, and I understand the premise, and I agree with the premise of your question. But Bryce Underwood is in a position where he's betting on himself. Right? In his view, he can take the $10 million now and get the $200 million in 6 years because he's betting on himself. Now, whether that happens or not, I don't know. But I'm just kind of giving you the thought process from a Bryce Underwood, right? That's where he's at. Kimberly, hope you're doing great. We also, did I see Nicole in here? Nicole, glad to see you. Hope your week was great. Hope your Friday is great. Yep, Travelpreneur, Portnoy. It is what it is. We just lost. This is another thing, guys, is we're finishing out on recruiting. This shocked me yesterday, right? This absolutely shocked me. OU's quarterback recruit, Kevin Sperry, who I've seen live. I saw him in a camp setting when he was really young, and he was really impressive at that point. I haven't seen him since, but this was years ago. We were out at this camp in Dallas. It was I believe it was Under Armour. I think it was, I don't know who it was. I can't remember, to be honest with you. But we were out at this camp, and there's this quarterback, and we're watching him, and everybody's like, who the hell is this kid? Real young, and it was Kevin Sperry spinning it. He flipped to FSU. That was shocking. Coach Sean, what did you think when you saw that kid flipped to FSU? By all means, if that's where he feels the most at home, there's nothing you can do about it. That's recruiting. But I was just like, FSU.
I was shocked. I was shocked like everybody else. I didn't understand the pitch that FSU could possibly make to get a kid from Oklahoma to recruit to commit to them. I guess it's just one of those situations, man, where the kids see the quarterback room sort of empty. Sure, they got some guys there, but that quarterback competition is going to be they may have the most wide open quarterback competition in the country. I mean, it wouldn't shock me at all if a talented freshman come in that place and start. I mean, with what they have right now, And what I see on their roster, I can see where a young kid that really want to play will go there, but the kid has to also take into account um, you can be the most talented quarterback in the world, but you need weapons, you need people, and they got weapons, but they have a lot going on in Florida State in Tallahassee right now, man. You know, a lot of chemistry issues, a lot of schematic issues, some coaches getting into it with one another. They got a lot of stuff going on, man. And you know, I can see where a young man will see some opportunity to get on the field early, but at the same time, you're gonna be dealing with a lot of other things, man, as well. So I can kind of see where he want to commit there, a kid like that. But it's more of me that don't understand because you're gonna be probably facing an uphill battle um, as far as being a young quarterback going into all those kind of different things. So you know, it is what it is, man. Nothing should shock you nowadays, as far as you know, flipping, decommitting. You know, it's just a wild, wild west. I mean, I really, really, really mean that. And I'm not sure if NIL played a factor into that, but when you look at all the hurdles that a young quarterback could be facing going into Florida State's locker room, I, a part of me just don't understand it, but also a part of me do understand if a young kid does want that challenge, and it's definitely going to be a challenge. Um, but you know, it is what it is nowadays, Ty, man. It's shocking initially until you really see what's going on, and you know, you just move, you just go with the punches, man. Nothing should 100% shock us when it comes to recruiting in 2024.
Yeah. The only thing that shocks me at this point is I mean, I don't even know, to be honest with you. The only thing that shocks me at this point is how much money is thrown around. That's
Yeah,
probably it, right? Like, we
yeah,
know there's money being thrown around, but like, holy hell.
yeah. It's crazy, man.
Holy
Crazy.
hell.
I mean, bro, let me say this. I speak from a perspective of I understand. I know how it is to be in college, and I've heard the stories from Chris Webber. I've heard the stories from Jalen Rose. I've heard the stories from AJ McCarron. I know how it is, man. You know, at any level of college football, man, you know, your background is your background. I know how it is to be in school, man, and not have a lot of money to do what you want to do. You know, your family busting their butt to try to put you through school. The scholarship pay for obviously room, board, tuition, things of that nature. Cafeteria, as we call it. But it's a lot of other things in college, man, that people don't understand. You got to pay for it. You got to pay it. Even football, even at Alabama, you got to pay to wash and dry your clothes. They give you these cards, man. And back in my day, I mean, you think of things, the hustle. That's back in the days where you was gluing dental floss to quarters to try to push the damn thing in and pull the quarters back out. I mean, you just got to get in where you fit in at that time, bro. And it's a lot going on in college, and here's the most important thing people got to understand: college football is big business, man. It is big business, especially in the southern southeast region. And it's a lot of people getting paid, man. It's a lot of people making a lot of money off college football, and these kids nowadays, man, have perfected the system of I'm going to copy you. I'm going to watch you, see how you make your money, and I'm gonna do the same thing. These little handheld computers that we have called phones, they can find out everything. In my day, we didn't have no balls to try to tell the school what we're not gonna do, right? You just happy to be getting your education paid for. So we live in a different day and time, man. And the sooner we embrace it, the sooner we can take off like a rocket. And there's no turning back at this point.
You know, there's a philosopher that I was reading not too long ago. Byung-Chul Han. I'm fairly certain I didn't mispronounce his name, but he was talking about the detriment of specifically the rampant increase in information as opposed to what humans have been predicated off of for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, which is storytelling.
Yeah.
And how we are losing storytelling, we are losing narratives and narration in favor of information. because when you go online, when you're on these social media platforms, you might see little videos, but that's not storytelling, right? It's just like quick snippets of information. And so it was a fascinating work about like what detriments we will see based off of the loss of storytelling and narration in favor of information. Um, and it really went into like how movies have also declined as well. I don't know, just whatever you were talking about, like what these kids are able to do, it made me think about that, because I think you're 100% right. This is a billion-dollar business. These kids figure this out. They're smart. And listen, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with having access to all the information you could want. There's a lot of positives to it as well. I'm just very fascinated right now in trying to wade through those waters to see, like, based on where we've come from, what the negatives could be based on just this massive influx of information and what we could lose as a part of it. So yeah, it's fascinating.
When this revenue sharing comes out, that's why I'm kind of like I really enjoy what you just said earlier. And Coach Jay, I love to get his thoughts on this as well. I am so ready for this revenue sharing to really, really be put into place, because the kids will make more money. But more importantly, Title IX is going to get it. I'm sure they got to fight through Title IX, stuff like that. But more importantly, with this revenue sharing, the powers that be will be able to control it. Like even with the young man that just flipped from LSU, you better believe there was some stipulations in that. You'll get this much if you blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? You better believe it's going to be some stipulations, and it'll give more control over the universities to now get some control over this stuff, man. It's going to be money, of course. And to me, this is the way it should have been done from the beginning. Go ahead and share the revenue with these kids. They're bringing it in, right? And this way you can put your own rules on it, man, right? You get this if blah, 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 blah. If you don't do this, this is what you get. So this way you can kind of curtail the transferring. Maybe you can curtail some of the backbiting and backdoor deals, and you can get back in front of a lot of this stuff, man. Wow, the kids still make money.
Yeah, Chance, what are you thinking?
Yeah, we need to have a check and balance. That's always been my thought process, is we got to have checks and balances. And so hopefully with revenue sharing, for the most part, that's, that will be included. Hopefully for the most part, we can have those, we need those checks and balances for these players and for these players. And there, I heard there was a contract written out for Bryce. There were stipulations put in place for Bryce Underwood, if he was able to sign, that he was able to do it. And quite frankly, I think with a lot of kids, and from what I was able to hear, is that if they do offer you that money, you have to sign a contract. You got to sign. You have to do it. So, like obviously there needs to be something in terms of recruiting. Like I don't mind kids getting paid in terms of their action, in terms of their name, image, and likeness. If you're gonna be using them on billboards, if you're gonna put them on on magazine covers, or if you're going to use them for your website, if you're going to if the video games, you look at endorsements sort of deals for local businesses, mega corporations like Nike, or Nike, that's going to use you in commercials. I don't mind that at all, and I definitely feel like kids should be getting paid, and they should be getting the contracts that they deserve. But it's to a point now where kids are signing these contracts, and they're not even doing any commercials. They're not doing anything they're not doing nothing that's regarding their NIL. Nothing. They're just getting, hey, here's $12 million, come play here. And if we do use you, you'll sign, guess what? These kids are signing like another contract. They're signing something else that's entirely different from the contract. So the first deal that you got, if it doesn't incorporate anything regarding your name, image, and likeness, then how did you get the $12 million? How are you signing these two separate things? So we gotta have some sort of effective checks and balance, and hopefully with revenue sharing, that will be the one that will do it. And quite frankly, I'm not a big fan of the NCAA, but they do need to have some sort of authority. They got to have some sort of power. We have to have something that can check these programs for crossing the line. Because I'm telling you, if this continues up, watch what Notre Dame will do.
Yeah.
If Michigan was able to take off the moral glove, watch what Notre Dame and Michigan State, these people forget, man. Guess who makes more money? Northern schools. They make more money than these Southern schools. They make more money than these West Coast schools. That's the money maker right there. It's the North, right? So I'm telling you, watch what you take off the kitty gloves. You want it to be the Wild Wild West? It's gonna look like the Wild Wild West. It's gonna look like Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm telling you. So we'll see what happens, man. But yeah, I can't wait for this thing to be put in place pretty soon.
You just need parameters, whether that's the NCAA, because you and I, Jance and Coach Sean, we've talked about this as well. We have ranted about our disdain for the NCAA for years now. I mean, years. But as much as that's true, as much as we don't like it, you do have to have some sort of governing body. At this point, I'm just sitting here thinking, why don't us three just throw our hat into the fire and make a new governing body for college football, undercut the NCAA, say we'll do it for cheaper, and then we get paid to do nothing? Huh? No? Nobody? Okay. I'll sideline that idea. We'll work on it. We'll come back to it. We can't keep setting a precedent to sign players. The Pope is the head of the Notre Dame collective.
Can I answer Piano Man?
100%.
And shout out to Piano Man. I apologize. I can't see the chat for real. I'm having to. I'm on my phone, so I'm having to click off screen to see the chat. I apologize. Shout out to everybody out there, man. I would say to my brother Piano Man, that's the risk you take, brother. I mean, here's what they can cloak it in, and I've been through this on both ends. I've sat on the couch and recruited the kid. I've been the kid who got recruited. Back then, my mama made a decision for me. She went to the university I went to, so it wasn't no question. You know, I wanted to go to Tuskegee with Bransky. You know what I mean? But she was like, "No." I went. You know, here's the flip side of it, man. And this is what they're hiding behind, but it's the truth. This is the legal jargon, man. Anytime, brother, that I'm an alumni of a school and I walk into Piano Man's house and I tell Piano Man, let's say Piano Man got a 16-year-old son, I'm going to take your son's face and put it on whatever the hell I sell. Could be hot dogs, could be medical instruments, whatever. You promote me. Your son promotes me. Now, I've met your son one time. Don't know him from appetite. A year later, I got your son on a billboard. Your son is a star at Alabama now. True freshman. He's the man. Everybody in the country think your son endorses my product, right? So they're buying my product based off the sheer fact they're true Bama fans that want to keep the money in Bama, right? Until NIL, I don't have to share a damn penny with you. I don't have to know you, shake your hand, nothing. I got your son's face on my business and don't got to share not a damn dime with you. Now you ask yourself, would you do that with Kim Kardashian? Would you put Kim Kardashian? Hell no. You know why you wouldn't? Because she'd sue the pants off you and probably own you within the next 6 months. So that's the thing. That's the downside of it, Piano Man. That's a fact. You know, how long is it before they can trickle into the high school rankings? Maybe they'll put some rules and some checks and balances, just like Coach Jay talked about, within the rules of that stuff when they finally come out with it. But right now, that's what you're facing. They're getting at these kids at a young age. There's nothing stopping them from doing that. And they're hiding it behind, well, okay, Ty, I'll pay your son if you let me use him to do blah, 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 blah. AAA. I know several, parents who got kids at Bama now. AAA pay them. All these different entities pay them, right? And some NIL deals are bigger than others. And the bottom line is, as long as it's above the board as far as what they got classified right now, there's nothing nobody can do about it. And that's the danger of it. So that's why I say it's so important for revenue sharing to come, because I think when that finally hit bricks, they're going to cover all bases. They're not going to hand out that amount of money to college kids without having all the checks and damn sure all the balances.
100%. And for anybody wondering how it would happen at the high school level, it would be the colleges kind of, if you're committed, then you could get paid in high school. That's how I think it would happen, at least. Just because, like Mark said, there are high schools that just don't operate at a profit.
And
So
states, Ty, tell them, and states.
yeah.
Certain states you can't do that. Certain states you can. You know, it's a cluster, man.
Run the Table Sports TV says one other thing is I feel that if you do get 5 to 8 million on an NIL deal, you should have to give up a small percentage to the team. I know that won't ever happen, but it would spread the love. I think the way to do this Run the Table Sports is by having a revenue sharing.
Yes.
Everybody gets money.
Yes.
And then if Nike, because Jans put it perfectly earlier, when NIL first started, guess what happened? DJ Uungale at Clemson got a deal with Dr. Pepper. Right? Bryce Young got a deal with Dr. Pepper. These, like, that, when that started happening, I was like, this is NIL. This is what it is. So if you just had that baseline and then Nike, Gatorade, Beats, NVIDIA, right? Like PlayStation, Xbox, whoever, they want to sponsor these kids. Call of Duty. New Call of Duty comes out. Maybe they have one of the USC players, right? Playing on the commercial. And then they get, like, that's all great. That's awesome. That's NIL. But right now we're seeing pay for play because revenue sharing's not a thing. Let's get revenue sharing, and then we can actually legislate what NIL is.
Facts.
Is NVIDIA in a bit of trouble? I must have missed that. What are they in trouble for? Oh, well. Guys, let's talk about the game this weekend. Bama OU. Jance, I want to start with you. Because, you know, a lot of people are really pessimistic about this game on the Oklahoma side. A lot of Alabama fans are thinking they're just going to go into Norman and kick the shit out of them. I think that if you're Bama, you can't overlook this team. Their front seven on defense is great. I think they're like top 5 or something, top 10 in the nation in rush defense. Great rush defense. I do think they can be had on the back end. I do think that Bama can exploit some things in the passing game. But this is a good defense. Even though I think you can attack an area of the defense, it's still a good defense. Jance, talk to me about this game and how you feel it kind of going down.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough game. We may win this game by a blowout, but it's not going to be an easy one. But listen, if Oklahoma was able to pull this thing off, I wouldn't be surprised, because I think that Oklahoma has a defense that gives Jalen Milroe trouble. Oklahoma can stop the run. It doesn't matter how many players they can put a 5-year-old on the defensive line, and yet somehow, some way, they'll still find a way to still have a really, really good defense and hold still. They have a strong interior defensive line. They can play discipline. They can play discipline in terms of edge containment. So you know, our running game has been a little inconsistent. I think the last couple games we've gotten a little bit better. But that is, you know, you can't just rely on the running game and thinking to yourself you're just going to bully Oklahoma. You know, if Oklahoma's, the thing that I'm concerned with the most is their offense. If their offense is able to chew down the clock, have slow methodical drives, you know, again, they may not score a lot of points, but they're putting, you know, consistent chains in term, you know, they're putting those consistent sort of chaining drives. I'm concerned now, because that's going to look like Vanderbilt, where, you know, again, they start to run a few wrinkles here and there, and yet we're a little inconsistent. And so there are some things that I am like, this is one of those games where I am generally kind of concerned if Jalen Milroe, if we can't establish a run game. Yes, I think the back end of their secondary is not really good. They've lost a lot of players, also back there as well. And I feel like matchup wise, we have the receivers, and we got the receivers in the scheme that can obviously frustrate them. But I think Oklahoma's got the pass rush they got guys that can get after the quarterback as well, and absolutely can disrupt this can disrupt this line. So there are some things that I am generally concerned about with this team. Mainly I think they're mainly their defense, and again they got a couple. Like listen, Jackson Arnold can run. You look at the backup quarterback. We all know what he can do. He can run. I actually think he'll be a better matchup to beat Bama than I think Jackson Arnold could, in my personal opinion. But this is one of those games where Oklahoma, they have nothing to lose. They can try out a bunch of new things that maybe they were just planning on holding out, and they would just use it for this game. They have nothing to lose, but it's like let's just go out there and just put our best forth effort and just say what the hell, So playing a team that has nothing to lose is the scariest sort of team to play, especially in this conference. You're playing in a night game environment. It's going to be 69 degrees, which it is what it is for that particular aspect. It's going to be a little windy. I think it's like 10, 11 mile per hour winds. So it's going to be, that's a game that I am genuinely a little scared to play. Honestly, the next couple games, Auburn's got nothing to lose. And what the Iron Bowl is, even though we play that game at home, Auburn, it's not like they've been blown out. They've lost a lot of close games. And so playing an opponent like that's definitely scary. So, we got to be focused. We got to keep our eye on the prize. We got to continue to improve. Sheridan has got to continue to improve as an offensive coordinator. And if our defense can get quick 3 and outs, then that's going to be great. But if Oklahoma's going to have these long sustaining drives, they're able to find and exploit a weakness in this defense. I'm concerned because Oklahoma's defense, the only issue with them is simply time. That's the only issue with them. It's time. It's not really the injuries. It's time, right? If you can give them a break, give them time off on the field and let them, gain energy, that's a very dangerous team to play. Oklahoma becomes a monster now instead of becoming that weak little, kid that you just that you keep picking on. So we'll see what happens, man. I know a lot of Oklahoma fans, they're a little, pessimistic about it. I know a lot of Bama fans are thinking we're going to roll in there and blow them out, and that could actually be the case. But remember, this is the same Bama team that lost to Vanderbilt, and so we'll kind of see what happens, man. But I don't think that we're this monster, this juggernaut, this complete team that can just roll into any location and just blow everybody out. We are 10-2 for a reason, and we do have weaknesses in our game that the right team, the right defense can definitely exploit. So Oklahoma, Auburn are going to be 2 very, very dangerous football games.
I 100% agree. And I think one thing that does help Bama, there's 2 things that help each team right now. For Oklahoma, Jant, you hit it on the head. They're trying to go for bowl contention. This is the last home game they have. They're going to throw everything at you because they have absolutely nothing to lose. For Alabama, Bama's basically been in the playoffs since the Tennessee loss. And what I mean is you're in single game elimination. You lose a game, you're out of the playoffs. It's that simple for Alabama right now. So they have been playing with a ferocity that I hope continues in. Coach Sean, as I pass this to you, I have been thinking about this for a while, and I want to get your take on the game, but your take on this thought in particular. I will be very comfortable coming on the show on Monday and giving you my season prediction for Auburn, whether Bama makes it to the SEC championship game, and playoffs, depending on which Bama team we see on Saturday. Because if they come in focused like they did against LSU, hungry and pissed off, that's when I'm going to be like, oh, okay, Bama's here. But we just have to see it. This is a good defense. They're going to throw everything they have. What you thinking?
I'm going to give my analysis on this, Ty, and then I'm going to get up out of here, brother. I'm going to get back out here. 4 things I want to talk about really quickly and really briefly. Bama commands everybody's attention. When Bama come to you on the road, you'll have record sellouts. You'll have teams are really trying to play their best football game against Alabama, right? Because they know all the eyeballs are going to be on that game. It's going to probably be a primetime game. That game really, really, really commands attention. So Oklahoma is not going to lay down, man. I know you got these football guys out here talking about some Oklahoma sad, this, that, and the third. Man, I'm telling you, don't listen to none of that. I'm telling you, don't be that fan, man. I'm telling you, this team has had a week off, man. Brent Vendor, that's the first thing. We command the utmost attention from these teams. And this is still Norman, Oklahoma. I don't care about how much they've struggled. This is a prideful football team with a very prideful fan base, just like ours, right? Alabama's coming out there. They will play well. Next is their run defense. I think it was Bear who put it up there. This will be the best run defense we've seen in a couple weeks, man. These guys have had a week off. They're going to focus on stopping Jalen Milroe. You have to. You have to. If I was playing Alabama, that's what I would do. Make him throw the ball, right? Next is Brent Venables. Brent Venables, for whatever you want to think, is a very good coach, man. He knows Alabama. I know this is a different Alabama, but he knows the mentality of the Alabama player. He talked about how he knew Jahad Campbell personally. He understands the personnel we have, what they can do. The film don't lie. And lastly, Nick Sheridan. Nick Sheridan has to understand this is a road game. It's a road game, man. It's ways that you win on the road. Defense travels. You got to play well on defense, but you have to aid your defense with foundational play call. Still Ty Hayes' turn. You can't go out there getting pass happy and try to make Jalen Milroe a Heisman Trophy candidate in one game, throwing the ball all over the place, going 3 and out, keeping them in the game. That is how you lose road games. You have to be physical, go out and do what you do best, and force your will upon the team, just like you did in LSU. Be patient, even if they stop us a few times. Don't go away from what got you here. So attention, we command it. Run defense, this will be the best one we've faced in a while. BV, Brent Venables, and Nick Sheridan. Those are 4 things that I really, really believe we have to master to win this game. I'm not acting like Oklahoma's a world beater by no stretch of the imagination, but if you think those guys don't have some players that can hurt us, then you I don't know what you've been watching all season. They're at home, they've had a week off, and they're gonna be rowdy for Alabama to come in there. Don't fall for this rat poison, man. Well, lowly Oklahoma. Don't fall for it. Oklahoma has been in all but maybe one game, has been in every game they've played, right? So don't fool yourself, man. This kid that got a quarterback can run around and hurt us when we playing man. The other kid that they saying on his way out, this kid can throw the football. I mean, both of these kids are talented, man. They just hadn't found their sea legs yet. Let's not let them find them against us in a big game at home against Alabama. If we play well in foundational play calling and play the same defense we've been playing for the last 2 weeks, we'll be just fine. But don't go in there thinking just because you roll your damn helmet out there that you're going to win the game. Go ask the Commodores, right? And it's the truth. You got to go out and play the damn game and do what you do best, man. I think this is a dangerous game. I think just like Coach Jay said, the next 2 games are dangerous games. These teams have nothing to lose, and they're going to throw everything but the kitchen sink and the kitchen sink at you. You got to be humble on the road, man. You got to be humble. You got to know what you're doing and play like you played against LSU. Come out, be physical in the front line of scrimmage, be physical on the defensive line. Let's not get over pass happy and get too cute with a bunch of damn reverses and all of this stuff. Get Kendrick Law involved in other ways. Get him involved, man. He's your X factor guy, right? Kendrick Law is a talented guy. Get him the ball behind the line of scrimmage and screens. Get that kid involved, and I think we'll be just fine. But that's just the thing. You got to do these things to be successful. Listen, Ty. Listen, Jans. Everybody in the chat, I'm gonna go and get up out of here, man. I hate to leave early, but I got some stuff I got to do. Had to tap in with my brother Ty. I really appreciate you, Ty, as always, my brother. Love to hear Coach Jay's takes, man. That's where it's been since we've met. Everybody in the chat, man. I apologize. I can't see you individually. I'm on this phone. And roll Tide to you all. Post game show Saturday. We're gonna tap in. Hopefully, we'll have some great things to talk about. We just got to do what we got to do, man. It's crunch time now. We got to do what we got to do. Coaches and as players, coaches got to step up and take their game to another level, right? You should know what your team does well at this stage of the football season. Go out there and do it. Point blank, period, man. Roll Tide to you all. Ty, I'll get with you, my brother. Jance, I'll get with you. Much love to Coach Carl. Much love to Coach Al. Much love to my brother Brinsky. Much love to Jason over there at Hall of Fame Sports, man. PG, all them boys, and much love to Coach I. Y'all hold it down, Ty. Appreciate you for letting me come on, man. And I'll definitely get back with you guys.
Before you hop off of here, where can they find that post-game show, Coach Sean?
You could definitely find that post-game show at JMHO Sports Talk right here on YouTube, man, and Twitter. That's just my humble opinion. That's all we do on my channel. It's just our humble opinion. We talk about it. We compare notes. We have a good time, man. And we wait around to see who was right and who was wrong, man. That's the fun in it to me, man. No hate toward nobody. Much love to everybody who tap in with us. My brother Bear, he one of the main moderators over there running the show. And my bad. And we will definitely see you guys then, man. Tell you crazy. Jazz. Much love to y'all, brothers, man. And much love to everybody in the chat, man. I'll definitely be seeing you guys on Saturday.
All right, Coach. See you Saturday.
Appreciate y'all, man.
Coach Sean, everybody, be sure after you get out of here, be sure to go subscribe to his channel, subscribe to Jance's channel. Obviously, you're here on my channel, but make sure you give these guys some support. They absolutely make the show. Jance, any final thoughts on this game, on this week, or anything that you're called to talk about?
Yeah, I want to talk about these college football rankings, these playoff rankings real quick.
Beautiful.
I don't know what the hell the committee is expecting to do anymore. I don't know the requirements because every single week the hypocrisy is absolutely insane. It's these people, talk about how strength of record, strength of conference, how that is a huge determining factor. But all we continue to see is that they just follow the win-loss record, which is important. The win-loss record is important, but they also told us years ago that win-loss, that all the other criteria would be just as important as your win-loss record. Well, they continue to show how it's just inconsistency. Because if we want to go off win-loss record, then why wasn't Florida State in the college football playoffs? Because they were undefeated. Now you said that the reason why Florida State was in the college football playoffs was because they were missing a key piece, which is a determining factor. That is in the criteria. That is a determining factor of whether or not a team is going to be in or not. Well, we look at this year, and in terms of determining factors, one thing that they also talked about wasn't just players. They also said that the schedule also does play into a factor in terms of that's kind of very similar to the Florida State situation. They do put that into consideration. If you have a weak schedule, even despite you having a better record than, let's just say for the sake of argument, Florida State had a weak schedule and they went 13-0. That determining factor of I'm gonna call it the Jordan Travis rule. Of the Jordan Travis rule does apply with the scheduling. That is in the college football playoff criteria. So we've had not one, but two, not two, but three teams that had the Jordan Travis rule of having weak schedules. And even though Penn State has one loss, Notre Dame has one loss, Indiana has one loss, why are all these other schools? Texas has one loss. Why are all four of those schools? Why isn't Alabama ranked above them? Why isn't Georgia? I get it. Georgia is a two-loss team, but Georgia has the number one strength of schedule in the country. It's not even close. They have the hardest schedule in the country. Why aren't they part of that determining factor? Hell, I'm going to give credit to SMU. SMU, who's had a tougher strength of schedule than Penn State and Indiana, why isn't that program regarded more? Again, Tennessee's is a little bit more understandable because I don't think Tennessee's strength of schedule isn't that strong. But it's just a case where, ladies and gentlemen, that it's just inconsistent. I don't know what they want. Are they gonna what's the determining factor this time? Is it win-loss record or is it strength of schedule, strength of conference? What's the criteria? And listen, Lane Kiffin, Lane Kiffin, bro, I get it. I get exactly what you're trying to say. He's afraid of playing in a conference championship because I don't know what they regard anymore. They're unpredictable, and having an unpredictable committee that doesn't follow the rules, that's a scary thing. And this is why I talked about this during the preseason. Conference championships need to be eliminated. They just do. You got to get rid of them. Because I'm telling you this right now, the College Football Playoff Committee, they said that the conference championship is protected. But Ty, it's not written in the rule book. It's not written down. So all we've heard is just words. How can we sit up here and believe that the committee is going to be a man of their word when they haven't really lived by those rules? They haven't followed their own rules. They've broken too many promises. So I don't believe that for a second. I'm telling you, there is going to be a conference championship loser that is deserving of making it to the college football playoff, but because they may have 2 or 3 losses, despite them filling a majority of the criteria except the win-loss record, they're going to be eliminated. It's going to happen. It's going to be extremely controversial, and everyone's going to be up in arms. But I'll say this.
I have a question for you real fast.
Yes, sir.
Do you think that we could see a major moving of the goalpost because the committee could argue that we're no longer under the same 4-team parameter that we were for the past decade?
They could. They could definitely say
that's what I fear.
But
right?
Exactly. Okay. I will completely get that. All I need to see now is did you update your website?
That's fair.
Because
that's very
all
fair.
those criterias, even if it's made for the 14 playoff, cool. Just show me an update. Show me an update of those written rules for the 12-team playoff. Oh, when you go to the website, it's a 12-team playoff. And then all the rules are written underneath there. So if they make that sort of BS excuse, which that's just something that they'll do. That's something that they'll definitely do. All we have to say is, okay, well, your website says 12-team, and then under it is all the criteria marks. So why didn't you update it? If you would have updated this and gave us a different sort of criteria format, completely understandable. But you didn't do it. It'll be funny if they come up with this excuse of saying, oh, you know what? We forgot to add it there. So you're telling me it's laziness that is the reason why you didn't decide to update it? You see what it's full of crap. These people are full of crap. This is why we got to leave it up to AI. Leave it up to the BCS or leave it up to AI to determine who the 12 teams is, because at least we don't have a person determining who's going to be in there or not. Give me AI that can determine a 12-team format by following those rules, and I'm good. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect. But these people are way worse than the BCS. They're way worse than the BCS. We've had some of the craziest, dumbest matchups possible because of these people. And you know what? I do feel bad, at least right now during the current format, I do feel bad for Colorado. I do. Because there's no Boise State. I respect Boise State. They should not get a bye at this current week. There's no way. How are you going to eliminate didn't they say that every Power 4 conference was going to get a bye? Every Power 4 conference was going to get a bye.
Wait, has that changed? Because I was of the mindset that no matter what Boise State did, the group of 5 team that made it in would not be eligible for a bye.
Well, they're in that bracket. They're in the top 4 seeding according to their own bracketology. Their own bracketology on the website. They're there. It's right. They're top 4. Right.
Then they've already changed parameters based on what they said earlier.
Exactly. Colorado is not even in the playoff right now. Right. BYU is in 12th place. They're in the playoff, but they're in 12th place. But still, they said that every Power 4 team you're going to get the bye. You're going to get the bye. So instead, they just went around and said, okay, you know what? The highest conference, they went from the Power 4 conference to, okay, the highest conference champions are going to get the bye. That's already a parameter change. At all. So, Ty, these people are scary. These people are I don't know what's going to happen. I'm serious. I don't know what's going to happen. The only thing, Ty, that I think we both said that were correct was that the Big Ten, the SEC, were going to dominate the playoff members. They were going to dominate. Everyone's up in arms like Danny Cannell and all these other people. Like, why the SEC? Dude, so you're telling me you didn't know this was going to happen? Like, we knew this was going to happen.
Mark, are you sure? No, I'm not saying I'm right, Mark. I'm not saying I'm right. But I was like 80% sure that it was the Power 4 conference winners would get a bye.
Yeah, I thought so
And
too, Mark.
I could be wrong, but I really thought that was the parameters they put in. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. This might be just one of those Bernstein Bears situations, though. It's always been the Bernstein Bears.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But even then, right? Even if we take that into consideration, there's no way in hell Boise State's over Colorado. There's no way. Like I'm sorry, I'm taking Tulane over Boise State. Tulane's a better football team than Boise State. There is no evidence at all that Boise. If people want to say, okay, well they almost beat Oregon. Okay, Idaho almost beat Oregon. Wisconsin almost beat Oregon. Like we can't just take the almost beat into consideration. We got to take we got to take into account the performances of these teams from week 1 all the way to now. Who has played better? Colorado has played massively better. It's not even a discussion. Colorado would beat Boise State today if they played. They're the better football team. So if we're going to take that into consideration, then we got. I mean, come on. I mean, the Big 12 is by far the stronger schedule. The stronger conference than the Mountain West Conference. So
I agree with that.
Like we can't. So again, what is part of the criteria is strength of conference. That does play into a factor of a team's ranking. So why? So even still, Colorado should be ranked higher than Boise.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I really thought that it was the Power 4 conferences got the automatic bid, and I knew your group of 5 had an automatic. Get by early in the process. Yeah, I'm not sure, Mark. I'm not sure, right? Because if you remember it differently than we do, then there's a real chance that we're wrong.
It could have just been automatic bid. That could have just been it.
It could have been it. Yeah.
Yeah. Running Table Sports says it's the automatic bid for Power 4 conference champions, but it may not be for top 4 seeding. That may be the. Oh, that may be the case. I'm going to have to check it again, but I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, we could be 100% wrong there. So I don't know. This is all going to be a mess. This is all going to be a mess in terms of what happens. I'm really interested, Jance, to see if whoever makes it to the SEC championship game, if you're a 2-loss team and you lose, if you get left out, oh boy, is that going to, like, next year and all offseason is not going to be pretty. Because they're going to be like, okay, we're going to do everything we can to qualify for the playoffs, but not the SEC championship game. Like, that's the precedent you would set. So you might have teams, like, I don't even know, man. I don't even know. The best case scenario is to make it to the SEC championship game and win. That's every team's best case scenario. But
and then what if you lose?
What if you lose? Then
you're out.
You get left out.
By the logic.
Yeah. This is going to be a mess.
Yes,
this is going to be a mess.
Dumb.
But they'll expand to 14 teams next year. We already know this, or the year
14,
after.
16, 20. Just see, this is my problem. Stop delaying the inevitable and just get the AFC conference and the NFC conference, which is the Big Ten, the SEC, and let's just go. Like let's just go. Have these 2 teams and put any other accepting team in there. Just stop delaying the inevitable, because we all know what direction that this is going in. We all know what direction this is going in right now. Because eventually we're gonna have a 32 team playoff, and that's gonna look like that's gonna look weak. So you might as well just stop delaying the inevitable. Have the 2 conference championships, which, by the way, they're, again, if there's not any sort of evidence that we're not gonna have 2 super the Big Ten and SEC is not gonna have their own stuff. Look at it now. The Big Ten has 4 teams in the playoff, and they're having a down year. This is not a typical Big Ten year. This is their down year, and they still have 4 teams in consideration that's going to be in the playoff. I mean, the SEC has 6. I don't think it's going to stay 6. I think it's going to be 5, because one of these, not everyone that's going to go 10-2 is going to make it. I think that's, if A&M beats Texas, Texas out. If Texas beats A&M, A&M's out. I think that last game is going to be the deciding factor of who's going to get in and who's going to get out. And that's depending
100%.
if everybody else can, win their games. But
and you want to know the bad one, Jance? If Ole Miss makes it to the SEC championship game and loses,
they're out.
What do you do?
They're gone because they have bad. They have you lose. They have a bad loss. Lost to
Kentucky.
Lost A&M.
Of the teams that if we're looking right, like just to make it a bunch of 2-loss teams to make it easy, right? I'm not giving a prediction for this game. I'm just simplifying parameters to have this conversation. Let's assume that Texas loses to Texas A&M. You have a bunch of 2-loss teams. That would be really squirrely in what the committee did, because you would look at Texas and say, okay, you don't have any. Would they have any top 25 wins at that point?
No.
Okay, so you would have no top 25 wins, but Ole Miss would have the worst loss. What do you do? What do you do?
You gotta flip. Gotta flip the coin at that point. I mean, I don't know. Like you're right. Texas doesn't have big time wins, but Ole Miss has 3 losses. They're gonna be 10-3,
assuming they lose
Assuming if they lose, like this is dumb. They're not gonna put 6 teams from the SC in. I don't believe it. I gotta believe, because if they put 6 teams in, it's gonna be so much. Oh, everyone's gonna be crying and bitching and moaning about it. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think the maximum is 5. The minimum is probably 4. The maximum is 5. I think 5 is exactly where you can go, because there are 6 teams right now, I believe, that are 12. They're top 12 easily. They would beat any of these teams. I think if you put Oregon, Ohio State, Indiana in this conference, and they play those 6 teams, they have a huge chance of losing those games. But the committee's not going to do it. They're not going to do it. They're not going to put the 6 teams in there. So I don't know. Like there isn't a criteria. There isn't any sort of rule or criteria that protects conference games. They don't do it. They're not going to protect those conference games. So I don't know, man. And this is and listen, SMU. I feel bad for them. What if SMU, who's had 1 loss the entire season, what if they go and you get to the conference championship, you lose a close competitive game to Miami? What you gonna kick it? You're gonna kick SMU out? Yes, they have 2 losses.
Criminal.
They're gonna kick them out. Washington State. What if they go and they finish with 1 loss? They're not going to be in the conversation because of the amount of Big Ten teams and SC teams that's going to dominate. It's just, I don't know. Like
I would take a 2-loss SMU that lost in the conference championship over a 1-loss Indiana if Indiana didn't make it to their conference championship.
Yep. And look at Notre Dame sitting high, seeing
isn't that
high
just
and mighty, high and mighty. If they run that table, they're not going to play in a conference championship. Yes, they're going to have to play in the first round because
they get a bye. They still get a bye. Like this is what I think people. I want to win the SEC as well. Okay, but whenever people are like, "Oh, you definitely have to make it," and I'm like, "No, you don't," because either way, you get the bye. Either you're not playing when everybody's playing in the championship games, or you're not playing in the first round of the playoffs. Like, either way, you get a bye. It's just, when does it happen?
This is, and thank God they didn't go undefeated, because if Notre Dame would have finished undefeated,
oh my God,
then you would have got the conference bye, and then you would have got the first round bye. So you have a month off.
Well, no, they were. You remember Notre Dame wasn't eligible for the first
round. Oh, they were eligible
bye.
to get the bye. Okay, so even if they would have went undefeated, they would. Okay, but
I mean, that's the one good thing the committee did, is they looked at Notre Dame and they said, you cannot qualify for the top 4 because you're not in a conference.
No, they don't have to. And the crappy part is, I feel bad for whoever gets the number 9 seed, which right now would be us. You're going to go through a murderous row, man, because you got to play Notre Dame in the first round, a team that is fresh, and you got to go on the road in December on December 20th in Indiana, snowing, cold, 20-something degrees, and then if you beat that team, you play Oregon next. You play Oregon next, and then if you win that game, it is a murderous row. Murderous row. You got to play 3 games just for you to get to a national championship, and you got to go through you got to go through Pelican Bay to get to the national championship game. You're gonna be exhausted, tired. Oh boy. I don't know.
There's gonna be a lot to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. Gents, we're gonna hop out of here because I gotta head over to the Bleacher Report show here in the next 10 minutes. And my dog, I don't know if you can hear her, she's scratching at the door because she's needy and she wants to go for a second walk today.
Oh, yes.
This is what happens when your dogs get old. Then they realize that they get all the attention. And now she's like, okay, second walk. She's like a hobbit. She had her first walk, first breakfast. Now she wants second walk, second breakfast.
You gotta get a treadmill, man. Get a treadmill, tie that, you know what I'm saying? Tie that rope against the thing. She can run all she wants. Nonstop running and walking.
No, see, my dog's the type where she walks to a point and then she just looks at me and will sit. And I have to carry her after that. And granted, she's like an 82-pound American Staffordshire Terrier who thinks she's a little lapdog Chihuahua. So she will make me carry her. It is what it is.
Oh, yeah.
It is what it is. Jance, where can the people find all your great content?
Yeah, Jant Sports on YouTube, Jant716 on Twitter, and also Jant Sports on TikTok. You know, my Twitter, guys, I'm very active. I'm always in spaces, college football, NFL spaces. So if you want to kind of come in and just holler, definitely join into the conversation. It's definitely funny. It's really funny in there. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I be at the most of the times. But yeah, that's where you can find me on my platforms.
Love it. I always see you in those spaces, and I've always been tempted to hop in there and snoop, see what's going on.
It's funny, man. It is hilarious in those spaces.
I can't imagine LSU spaces last night were very.
Oh God, that was hilarious. Oh yeah, they were freaking out. They were panicking, freaking out. They wanted Brian Kelly wanted to be fired. It was funny. It was real funny. Matt Moscona was getting cussed out. I mean, it was you know, oh God, it was awesome. I think it was recorded too. So I think if you just look up and just type in LSU, I think there should be some spaces that were recorded. But no, I want to say for 4 hours because I went to sleep and then I woke up and the space was still going on. So let me tell you, yeah, LSU fans are unhappy. They want Brian Kelly gone. They don't want him there. They feel like he's ruined the culture. They feel like recruiting, like coaches. From what I've heard, he's had some bad relationships with coaches, high school coaches in that state. Obviously, the relationships between the players, I don't think it's going as well. I know Will Campbell, he called the players meeting. It's all the, like, this class was holding Brian Kelly's job. Now, I think he'll be there regardless because the buyout is massive. It's massive in order for him in order to get rid of him. But people want him gone. They don't want him to be the coach. They don't feel like this program is going to go in the right direction.
Well, someone in the chat earlier was saying there were some whispers of Brian Kelly in Michigan.
I could see it. I mean, the reason why he left Notre Dame was because Brian Kelly couldn't get the players that he wanted to get. Like, he had limited. I mean, of course, he can get great recruiting classes, but he can't get the elite recruiting classes. That's why he went to LSU, more freedom to do kind of what he wants. He wants to play that GM role to the highest extent. And I'm telling you, I mean, Michigan, what they're doing right now, I could see it. He's going to have that freedom to recruit who he wants to recruit, and he gets to do it at a much kind of closer location where he kind of grew up in. I could see it because I don't think that Brian Kelly has adapted to Southern culture.
I don't think so either, and he had that fake accent.
Oh my God, what a fantastic first impression, and then of course that infamous recruiting video with him and Danny Lewis, where they're just I don't know, they're listening to NBA YoungBoy and he's trying to act like he knows the song lyrics, and it's just I don't know.
When he hit this one right here, that's when I was like, oh, it's done.
Yeah, it's
done. When you hit this one right here, I was like, it's done. You're cooked. Is Brian Kelly a good offensive coordinator? Just asking for a friend. You can do better. You can do better. Actually, Mark, if y'all were to get the Dan Mullen hire, I know he doesn't like to recruit, but if you could have people around him that recruit well and get Dan Mullen, that would be a hell of a hire, man. A hell of a hire. Like, that would be a great hire for Oklahoma, just for an offensive play caller. Dan Mullen would not be bad. I actually really like the Washington State one as well. I really like the Washington State. Arbuckle, is it? I think that's the Washington State guy, or am I confused? Anyways, the Washington State offensive coordinator has done a great job transitioning away from Cam Ward. New quarterback is balling. There might be a chance you could get that new quarterback they have to follow him to Oklahoma. Be a 2-for-1. I like that one as well. So we'll dive into that more on Monday after the Alabama-Oklahoma game. Jance, we're going to hop out of here. Until next time, as always, we got to let the spinning wheel of doom have the final say. And it's been